Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta. We are a liberal religious community of many spiritual traditions, but shared values. We are delighted that you are worshiping with us this morning. My name is Jezebel Anat. I'm your worship associate for today, and our sermon is given by our own interim minister, Reverend Don Cameron, on the Flaming Chalice. This is our second fully live and Zoom hybrid service, so we ask you to please be with us as we're working through our technologies. It is so great to see all of you guys in the sanctuary. We do ask you to please keep your masks on through the service, and there is still no singing in here, so when you hear the beautiful hymns, just sing along in your heads. And for ventilation purposes, our doors and windows are open, so we may be dealing with ambient noise. If we hear the fire trucks going, let's just send good wishes to wherever they are headed. So with all of that, we will now begin with our opening song. I'll turn you over to David Netchis for Come Sing Us New Song.
Good morning, everybody. Our opening song is not found in the hymnal. It's a song that the choir is sung and the congregation is sung. So for those of you who've been to services before, you might remember it. We'll have the words on the screen, and we are being led on this song by our choir member, Pam Harris. So we thank her very much. Come sing a new song.
Come and sing a new song. Come and all join along. Come and sing a new song. Sing hallelujah to the morning. Come and sing a new song. Come and all join along. Come and sing a new song, sing hallelujah to the morning. Sing to the sunshine, sing to the rain, come with joy in your heart. Sing to your neighbor, sing to your friend, start at the beginning and sing to the end. Come and sing a new song. Come and all join along. Come and sing a new song. Sing hallelujah to the morning. Sing to the promise of a new day. Sing of the chances to come. Sing when you're sad to chase blues away. Sing when the day is over and done. Come and sing a new song. Come and all join along. Come and sing a new song. Sing hallelujah to the morning.
Beautiful, thank you. And now Tad Newton from our board will give you our weekly announcements.
Good morning. A reminder that the Sunday RE classes for the school-age children 5 through 5th, K through 5th grade are resumed, and the meeting is from 10 to 10:50. The Zoom link and the other information for RE are in your e-announcements. Now, the parents group will be meeting online today at 12:15. The Zoom link is in your e-announcements. And the same link will be repeating each first Sunday for the parents group gathering. The UU Monday meditation group will meet online face-to-face in the sanctuary, as well as a hybrid meeting tomorrow evening, May 3rd, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Contact Elizabeth McNabb and Melanie Roberts for that information. Then individuals who are interested in meeting in the sanctuary Monday nights, please get in touch with Chris Garcia today. Joey Trina's memorial service will be held Saturday, May 8th, online at 6 p.m. via Zoom. There will be an e-announcement Zoom link sent out to the congregation later this week. Please check this week's e-announcements for the contact information for these groups and other events that may be occurring and that you may wish to register for. There's also a link to the Unitarian Church calendar that'll let you know of activities that are going on throughout the month. Now, the church, of course, continues on phase 4 of the reopening guidelines that permits larger attendance for these activities that take place in the church, such as the sanctuary and the common. Now, our current masking and social guidelines are still in effect. Thank you very much.
And now let us enter into our time of worship. Our chalice lighting words are adopted from Rachel Naomi Remen. Hidden in all stories is the one story. The more we listen, the clearer that story becomes. Our true identity, who we are, why we are here, what sustains us is in this story. And our pastoral care team is having some Zoom issues, so I'll introduce our joys and sorrows. For those who are new and unfamiliar with how we achieve that in our community, we drop a stone representing all our earthly meetings, what is going on within our physical existence, into the waters of cleansing and renewal. So I'll drop the first stone for all who can't be with us, and also one for our members in military service. And now I'm going to step back. If anyone in the sanctuary would like to come up and share a joy and sorrow, please line up social distance over here. You may remove your mask to share your joy and sorrow, and please put your mask back on when you're returning. And these are not recorded for the recording. For all the joys and sorrows we have within our hearts. And now we enter into our period of meditation. So I invite you to relax, feet on the ground, allow your spine to be erect, feeling as though the top of your head is reaching towards the sky and your feet are grounded in the earth. As best you can in your mask, take a few deep breaths. Those at home on Zoom can breathe deeper into your center and release if you wish. Try to relax your jaws, relax your shoulders, and just be aware for a moment of your bodies. And allow yourself to be in this moment, unconcerned about the past. Just bring yourselves here into our community. May 1st is the pagan holiday of Beltane. It's the welcoming of summer, the returning of fertility, and the blooming of flowers and the beauty of the earth. And one of our customs is dancing the maypole. And the magic behind that is the sense of weaving all the different colored ribbons. And Stephen, if you have the meditation graphic, you can go ahead and put that up. We did a very social distance Beltane maypole last week with the pagan group here. And the colors remind us of all the threads of our lives. And it's particularly appropriate now as we come into a time where we are reweaving our connections. After COVID, we are bringing ourselves back together. And the maypole represents the world tree as we are coming back from our time of isolation into our community. So I invite you to look at this beautiful image as the chime signals us in and out of our silence. So as the maypole dancers bring their different lengths and colors of ribbon to wrap around the world tree, so we contribute our different talents and treasures to our church. And one of the ways that we support our church is through our generosity of our financial contributions. So the link to post online will be on the screen for the Zoom people. Andy has the plate to bring around. If you are more comfortable coming up and placing your donation here, you may do that. And David will play us our offertory.
Thank you, David. That was wonderful. Before I begin, I'd like to explain while I'm repeating a sermon before I go. The circle groups that we had, a lot of people expressed that they wanted to know more about Unitarian Universalist history and who we are. So the Flaming Chalice is the beginning and what it's all about. And I think I'll do one more before I leave, and probably a Theodore Parker. I will say my observation, though I'm speaking to you as a dinosaur in our denomination, but we're losing our grasp of who we are, our origins, our history, and again, that's not a criticism, that's a dinosaur speaking. While in other Unitarian Universalist congregations across this continent, someone will light the chalice, as we've done here this morning. Our symbol is the flaming chalice. I feel it's rather sad that we've mostly forgotten the story of the origin of this, our symbol. However, the story is not forgotten in Czechoslovakia. For it was there that the flaming chalice began its deep life as a symbol for liberal religion. It had such a clear, unforgettable meaning that it was worn on cloaks and even on battle armor as long as 600 years ago. The story of the flaming chalice begins with a man born in 1369, John Huss. We know nothing of his early life. We first hear of him attending the University of Prague for degrees in philosophy, art, and theology. He was not an outstanding student. His professors complained that he wasted too much time playing chess. They also complained that he was working his way through school by singing in the streets, as Martin Luther was to do 100 years later. Professors complaining that you're trying to make money to survive. It's fascinating. John Huss was ordained to the priesthood in 1401. He was not much of an idealist. He wrote to a friend, "I chose the office of priest because I have in mind self-shelter and goodly apparel and a comfortable living." Well, he was honest anyway. Huss began his ministry in Prague at Bethlehem Chapel. The chapel had been founded 10 years before as a place for preaching in the Czech language. Remember, we're going way back. Everything is preached in Latin. We're talking about the Catholic Church. The word Bethlehem was used in its literal Czech meaning, house of bread, because there in that church, the people were to be nourished by preaching in their own language so they might really understand what was said. In other churches, everything said was still in Latin and by the priest alone. See, this is European history, really, but this is the bubbling up of the Renaissance. This is freedom. You know, if I would choose one word to describe Unitarian Universalists, it's freedom. Anyway, in Bethlehem Chapel, the word was for all the people. Sounds great, doesn't it? And John Huss was an enormous success. His success was probably because we see in the copies of his sermons still preserved, he hardly ever mentioned theology at all. He spoke instead to the age in which he lived and to the feelings of the people who were sitting there. As Huss put it, if God had intended to be revealed through theology, we would have all been born with doctorates. That's 1300s. But troubles were brewing alongside his success. For one thing, Huss taught that the communion bread and wine did not change into real flesh and blood during the Mass. They were simply symbolic, a way of joining in the Last Supper of Jesus, or to be more accurate, the Last Passover of Jesus. Worse still, he even went further and taught that both the bread and wine should be given to the congregation at Mass. He found evidence in the Bible to prove it. By old tradition, only the bread was given to the lay people. The priest had to drink up all the consecrated wine. I grew up Episcopal, and the minister was a very important part of my life, so I was a loyal acolyte. And we would get the number count for the bread right on target, but the wine was way over because we knew he would let us help him drink the leftover wine. So there you have an inside story about religion. And he found evidence in the Bible to prove it. But by old tradition, only the bread was given to the lay people. The priest had to drink all the wine. Huss's heresy was thus a double one over communion. First is the heresy that the bread and wine does not turn into flesh and blood. The second heresy is this new demand that the wine be served to lay people. You see the Democratic starting to edge in. An irate prominent churchman named Gerson pointed out 4 major objections to John Huss's idea of distributing the wine to the lay people. If you listen carefully, you can hear the distant rustle of a stuffed shirt. First, number one, some of the precious blood might be spilled by clumsy lay people. That's not too nice. Number 2, the blood might become contaminated by coming in contact with the beards of laymen. The beards of priests were okay because priests were consecrated. Feel the tension? Third, the wine might become frozen as it was passed around in a large church on a cold day. Gerson lacked any understanding of the principles of antifreeze. And that, of course, oh, and the fourth one, to pass both the wine and the bread might seem to indicate that priests and lay people are equal. And that, of course, was exactly what John Huss intended to indicate, that priests and lay people are equal. And we're the purest remnant out of the Reformation of that principle. The exiled Huss was given a pass guaranteeing his safety if he would testify at the Council of Constance. If he did not, they said, the land of his exile would be attacked by the enemies of all the nobles supporting the Pope. Europe is starting to really. Huss could not stand by and see other people butchered over his own fight with his church, so he went. The Council of Constance was a deliberative body to make suggestions for resolving the conflicts within Christianity. The normal population of the town of Constance was 6,000. Then came the 150,000 visitors. To Constance came officials from every court and church and all the merchants hoping for the business. Just one statistic. At various times during the Council of Constance, a total of 150 people drowned while swimming in the lake. It was some affair. Well, Huss arrived with his safe conduct pass, hoping to offer a reasoned argument for his position. Instead, he was taken directly to the dungeon and his hands and feet chained to the wall. So much for the guarantee of safety. He told his friends he was not surprised. Huss was never allowed to make a single appearance before the Council of Constance, which has supposedly called him there. Instead, Huss was tried in court. Although 250 nobles signed a petition pleading for Huss's release, and even though the court was forced to admit that wine had been in fact given to all men and women during the early years of Christianity, still they condemned Huss. Huss's trial was not really a trial after all. It was a dramatic performance, pure intimidation, to discourage Huss's followers from having any more to do with him or with his ideas. Well, such things, alas, still go on today. The last of the court hearings was on July 6, 1415. Huss was forced to dress up in all his priestly garments. He was handed a communion chalice of wine. The charges were read. Huss was convicted. As they tore the priestly robes dramatically from his body, and he's burning alive, the accusers rudely and symbolically grabbed the chalice out of his hands with the words, "We take from thee the cup of redemption." Good dramatic stuff. But you see, sorry, Zoom. A communion chalice. It's our history with the flame of martyrdom, or the radical left of the Reformation is what we are. That is the source of our chalice, the cup of communion, of fellowship for all people, the chalice, a symbol for the power of the universe, of life of God, freely given to all people. That is what rests in our religious symbol. John Huss was then taken out and burnt at the stake. The first doctor of theology in all of European history, to be martyred for his faith. As he burnt, Huss made a pun of his own name, which means goose in Czech. Today, he cried, today you are burning a goose, but out of my ashes will be born a swan, whom you will not burn. And so the flame joined the chalice and became a symbol of a great movement in Bohemia and Eastern Europe. And there lies our roots. The chalice of communion and respect for all people as equal, and the flame of death, but even more the life, the spirit, and the thought of John Huss. 450 nobles joined the movement to keep Huss's flame alive. They disposed the treacherous king and formed a city of some 40,000 Hussite souls. In 1433, they forced the church to a treaty which allowed the giving of the wine of communion in the chalice to all people. They and many of their followers all over Europe wore the symbol of the flaming chalice as a badge on their cloaks, as a mean of recognition, a sign of who you were and what you believed. It was a common sight. Huss's swan grew. He could not, after all, be killed. Martin Luther adopted most of Huss's ideas. He once said, "We are all Hussyites without knowing it." You see, this is the person in history that paves the way for Martin Luther, paves the way for the Reformation. John Huss and the Flaming Chalice are not forgotten in Czechoslovakia today. His statue still stands in an old town square. And it was no coincidence that Jan Pollock years ago chose to protest the Russian occupation by burning himself to death, sitting in line of sight of that statue of John Huss. Not far from the reconstructed Chapel of Bethlehem, the House of Bread, on a brick wall during the Czech upheaval, appeared chalked the flaming chalice, our flaming chalice. Under it were written the words of Huss, "Truth is victorious." And under those words, the number 2-0, 4-3, the scores of the ice hockey matches when Czechoslovakia beat Russia, who was occupying their country. No, we're not the only ones to honor John Huss, but we have kept the flaming chalice. We have just forgotten the story. A pamphlet put out by our denomination tells of the flaming chalice as becoming our symbol in 1948, all around the Second World War. Really? Really? Then why did the great American Unitarian preacher of the 19th century, Theodore Parker, order a flaming chalice to be carved on his gravestone? The chalice of equality and the flame of new ideas. Have you seen no modern relevance in this slice of history? Then I've failed. Courtrooms used as theaters, freeing people from unreformed institutions, respect for all people is equal. These issues and the general demands of ordinary people to govern their own lives. These issues still exist in Huss's homeland today, here in America, and everywhere on this planet. I leave you with my colleague, Mark Bellatini. We kindle the flaming chalice at the beginning of our service because it reminds us of our historic affirmations that the cup of abundant life is to be denied no one, and that unity in loving is preferable to unity in belief. And it further reminds us that our ancestors went to their deaths in fire rather than deny another's right to truth. Ours is the faith we hear affirmed for all who trust themselves and each other, the cosmos in which we live, and the nameless unknown beyond all. David?
Thank you, Reverend Don. That was a sermon worth hearing again, I think. Fascinating history. Our closing hymn is one of our favorites, number 311, Let It Be a Dance. And feel free to dance in your seats, I guess. Don't get out of your seats, but unless you're at home. And I am your song leader on this song. And then our postlude is inspired by the idea of the chalice. It'll be Peter Yarrow's Don't Let the Light Go Out. And so now let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the word, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend, and like a willow with the wind, let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. A child is born, the old must die, a time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by, let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star, come out at night. Without the dark there is no light. If nothing wrong and nothing's right, let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let the rain share the laughter, bear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
Probably that and Spirit of Life. Is the camera on? Am I on? Okay, I can't tell from the. That and Spirit of Life is probably the two most popular hymns in our denomination. And over the years, I've seen congregations I serve, the whole congregation stand up and dance for that. It's really a lot of fun. But those are not the times we live in right now. Our closing words are from Brian Kiley. In times of darkness, we stumble toward the tiny flame. In times of cold, we seek the warming fire. In times of repression, we reach for the lamp of truth. In times of loss, we pray for the comforting light. In times of joy, we light a candle of celebration. May the light of our faith help us find what we need this very day. Blessed be.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart of stirrings of compassion, blowing the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots only close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Okay, everyone can change to gallery view and unmute if you'd like to visit.